In my last video, we proved beyond a doubt that the Patterson-Gimlin film could not have been a man inside of a suit. The body proportions alone ruled out any possibility of a human inside. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend you watching it first. But today, we're diving even deeper into evidence that's just as compelling. Evidence no boots could have faked. We're going to look at the foot, and what you're about to see is consistent only with a living primate. From Bill Munn's, which he enhanced, and it has a close-up of these feet, which you'll see is very important. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play out first, and then I'll discuss about what we see in this video. Okay, so this is frame 304 right here, and I'm just going to play this frame by frame. You'll notice how the foot is flat here. It's still flat, and when it comes to hit the ground, you'll notice the foot bends almost in the middle right here, which is known as a mid-tarsal break. This is seen in a lot of other great apes, which makes a lot of sense. But I'll keep playing the video here, frame by frame. The toes come down and they fully collapse right there in one frame. The other foot comes out up into frame. You'll notice here it's flat. And there we go. We see the same flexion of the foot there, right there in the middle, or towards the end of the middle of the foot. And then it comes down right back onto the ground. There's one other thing I should mention. 338. You'll see right here the foot is almost completely straight. And here's the toe. And you'll see as I go frame by frame, it's starting to have this shape change, almost like an S. In frame 338, it gets even more dramatic. The entire foot, look at this, it's like an S shape. So you'll see the mid-tarsal break right here, comes down, and here's the toe box, back up to the heel. I mean, there's just natural flexion, just as you would see in any other ape. And then it disappears behind this piece of debris. And you'll also notice right here in this frame, right there, and right there, it almost looks like the foot is broken in half or something. Right there you can see that this is actually just a rock or a piece of debris, because it stays in the exact same spot here, even as the foot moves by. So this is something that is on the substrate as its foot is passing by. A lot of people think it could be part of the cloth coming off, but that's just not true. As you can see in these frames, the rock is right here, the foot comes into frame, and the rock is now covering the foot, and then the foot moves by, it's right there, and it's gone. What we just saw was conclusive. The toes bending and the mid-foot flexing in real time. No boot in existence can mimic that natural motion. This isn't a costume material. It's biological structure at work. And if the living anatomy on film wasn't enough, the story doesn't end here. Because right after this encounter, tracks were left behind. Tracks that will tell us even more. The footprint casts. When we move from the film itself to the footprint casts, things get even harder to dismiss. These weren't blurry photos in the dirt. These were physical casts taken at Bluff Creek, and they've been studied by anatomists and anthropologists for decades. Grover Krantz, professor at physical anthropology at Washington State University, studied them in detail and concluded, no hoaxer would have been able to produce these pressure ridges and flexing of the foot that appears in these casts. They are entirely consistent with a living foot and inconsistent with a fake. Jeff Meldrum, anatomist and professor at Idaho State, has analyzed over 200 footprint casts, including those from the Patterson film. He explains, the Bluff Creek casts exhibit a clear mid-tarsal break, a flexible joint across the middle of the foot that allows for a smooth, rolling step. This is something we see in the non-human primates, not in humans, and is extremely difficult to fake. Even more striking are the details that should never appear in a carved fake. Meldrum again. Some of the casts show dermal ridge impressions, like fingerprints on the sole of the foot. You can't replicate that by stamping wood in dirt. Put this alongside the film's body proportions, arms way longer than the legs, a near 90-degree knee bend, massive stride length, and we now have two independent lines of evidence pointing to the same conclusion. The anatomy in the film and the anatomy in the footprints both fall outside human parameters, but align with what you would expect from a massive non-human primate. As Krantz summed it up, either we have an unknown primate leaving tracks in the Pacific Northwest, or we have hoaxers capable of faking biomechanical details that even scientists struggle to describe. The former is far simpler. So when you put all of this together, the biomechanics, the impossible proportions, the footprints with anatomical detail, far beyond what any hoaxer could fake, you're left with something that simply doesn't fit neatly into the man in a suit explanation. I'm not here to force a belief on you. I just laid out the evidence as clearly as possible so you can make up your own mind. If you enjoyed diving into this with me, I put out longer, in-depth videos like this one every couple of weeks, and it really helps out a lot if you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.